Hello there, welcome to People, Politics and Power. I am Imoni Amari. For many Nigerians, June 12, 1993, a watershed in the country's long struggle against military dictatorship and the restoration of democracy. It was the day Nigerians went to the polls, defying all odds to execute what has been acknowledged as the freest, fairest, and perhaps the most credible elections in Nigeria's checkered electoral history. For years prior to 2019, June 12 was celebrated majorly by Southwest states in recognition of the undeclared election victory of Chief MKO Abiola in 1993. The declaration of the day by the federal government in 2018 as Democracy Day was therefore a testament to a legacy that continues to reverberate even today. On Saturday, June 12, 2021, apart from the usual speeches, some Nigerians took to the streets in some parts of the country to protest what they say is the poor state of governance and perhaps the betrayal of the hopes that June 12, 1993 envisioned. President Muhammadu Buhari also seized the day to share his scorecard and remind the nation of his commitment to the corporate existence of Nigeria. Across board, there is a consensus that 28 years after, the sacrifices of the June 12 struggle may have been in vain, that it has not bettered the kind of democracy it promised, that a lot remains to be done in the task of nation building. On the program today, we shall interrogate the fundamentals of June 12 and relate them to the ingredients necessary for national development. How to produce these ingredients, make use of them, and ensure that we have a better country where peace and justice shall reign. Does Nigeria have a national vision? How can its citizens achieve a common purpose in the interest of shared prosperity? Is a better Nigeria the responsibility of the leadership alone? Are there roles for the followership? What are the factors militating against leadership and citizens' efforts? These and more are the issues our guest analysts will be engaging with on the program. Stay with us. When we return from this short break, we shall get to meet our guests on the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. People, Politics and Power, and our focus is on the June 12 fallout, 28 years after. Have we as a nation imbibed any ideals from that struggle? Have we as a nation been able to make the much desired progress that was envisioned 28 years ago when that monumental election took place and of course annulled by the military at the time? I have joining me in the studio two gentlemen so eminently qualified to discuss this issue, and another one joining us virtually via Zoom from Uyo, the Akwa Ibom State Capital. But first, joining us here in the studio is Dr. Kayode Ajulo. Dr. Ajulo is a lawyer and at one time was a politician. I don't know if he still is now. Thank you so much, Dr. Ajulo, for joining us.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Also joining us is Dr. Hussein Tukur. Dr. Tukur is a teacher at the Nasarawa State University and associate professor, in fact, in the Faculty of Administration. Thank you so much, Dr. Tukur, for joining us.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And at the time of the June 12 elections and the subsequent struggle that followed, Dr. Tukur was actually a practicing journalist. Thank you so much, Dr. Tuko, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, also joining us virtually from Uyo in Akwa Ibom State is Dr. Archibong Asukwo. He is a lawyer and a politician. He's joining us from Uyo, like I said. Thank you so much, Dr. Asukwo, for finding time to join us. Can you hear us, Dr. Asukwo?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, right. So let's begin from your end, far away, there. How was June 12 marked in the Akwa Ibom State capital?
It was peaceful. In the sense of the
I'm afraid your audio is not very clear here, Dr. Asukwo, so we will come back to you. I'm sure to be able to sort that out very quickly. But let's return to the studio here. And let me turn to Dr. Kayode Ajulo. Dr. Ajulo, 28 years after the June 12 election and the subsequent annulment, today Nigerians still talk about it and what it would have been if that election stood. What are your thoughts?
The first thing you mentioned that 28 years ago. The question is that how time flies. It never really occurred to me that it's already almost 28 years, and that one is significant to the fact that June 12 will continue to stay in the minds of people, those born and those unborn. It is more or less a phenomenon. It is a watershed in Nigerian politics, even African politics, apart from African politics, the world politics, because June 12, I think till today, is still being discussed all over the world. I remember what happened in South Africa. What happened in South Africa, June 12 effect even happened in South Africa. That's why we have the Mandelas and the rest. And so by the time one is interrogating, talking about June 12, its concepts, its doctrine, because as at now, it is more of a phenomenon that I believe some people should be doing their doctorate degree and to be interrogating what really happened there. But for this discourse, it is something that I believe should have been the foundation of our democracy if we've been able to get it right. I won't say we've not, because the only thing is this, we always believe that must be like Eldorado. This is the way a government should be. We can't say because we have not been able to reach there, we should be complaining. As it is today, one thing that is so clear is that we are not under military rule. As it is today, you can see that anybody can pick a Twitter or whatever it is and to start correcting the president and be shouting. You dare not do that during the military. Today we'll be talking about we want to have a minister. You still have to go before the National Assembly, people's representatives, before you table them. They appear before them. The army chiefs needs to go there. I believe this is what democracy is all about. As it is not about the issue of dictatorship now. It is at least we have semblance where Nigerian people can be said we are being governed by some people. That one it is. And again, I think there's some spirit behind June 12. The spirit, because that will be the first time. That's why sometimes whenever I see some people discussing the issue that the candidate must be a Yoruba, must be Igbos, must be Hausas or Fulani, must be Christian or must be Muslim. And that's June 12. Its significance is so great that the two candidates, both the presidential candidate and vice presidential candidate, they are Muslim, and Nigeria was so comfortable with them to vote for them. Not only that, the other rival, that's Bashir Tofa in Kano, both in the state, ward and unit, he lost the election to a popular candidate. And many things, like today somebody will tell me that the resignation seems to be alien. If you remember during June 12, some officials or men now say when they notice the injustice, like I remember the public secretary of NRC then, Dr. Doe Okupe, when he noticed the furnish and argument about June 12 trying to be swept under the carpet, he quickly resigned from his party. I think that was done that we can say Nigerians, that value is still there. I believe all we need to do, that's why I would suggest that the June 12 needs to be interrogated, need to be written upon, needs some people to do research and come out with some thesis and the thesis about. At least that one will guide us to know this is the way Nigeria should be. But unfortunately, we seem to be getting it wrong.
Dr. Tuku, what would you consider to be the major fundamentals of June 12?
Well, the most important aspect that we should all look at June 12 is the fact that that very day Nigerians decided that the issue of religion, ethnicity, was no longer important in Nigerian politics, and that the most competent candidate out of many candidates should be the one that should lead Nigeria, and that it should be on the basis of policy that would promote not only a particular sectional interest, but the common interest of Nigeria. That is a fundamental principle which all society strive at, and that was presented in June 12. And that is the most important aspect of that is that if June 12 would have prevailed at that time, those parochial interests and other sentiments in Nigeria will have long gone, because it is established clearly that we have a very important issue that has for a very long time refused to go away in Nigerian politics. That's who becomes a president, from which part of the country, what is his religion, what does he represent. These issues were resolved on June 12. And that if that has continued, prevailed, and subsequent election will have been held, people will not have resolved that problem. And that is what happened in history. If we look at the United States, right from the Confederation to the Republicanism to the democracy, these issues are permanently resolved. Today in the US, although it is over 200 years, the issues of discussion is no longer religion. The issue is development, supremacy of the US, hegemony of the US, the welfare of the citizens, and so on and so forth. This is the most important aspect that we should all remember when we are celebrating June 12. We may celebrate a personality, that's Abiola, who represented the will of the people then. But we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that all Nigerians came, and their view was that they wanted a new Nigeria. And that new Nigeria can be encapsulated in the values that were in our constitution. They are still are, but unfortunately, we are not abiding by them. What we say to do is to pursue interests of politicians, regional interests, and religious interests. And that is what we should refocus our mind when we are celebrating June 12. That is the most important lesson that we should have learned, and that should have guided our development process.
Dr. Jula, I'll come back to you on these fundamentals and how they dovetail into the situation we have in Nigeria today. But first, let me attempt to get back to Dr. Asukwo Inuyo. If we have him back now and the audio is fine enough.
Yes,
yes, good. I think it's much better now, Dr. Asukwo. So, yes. Now, you were around in 1993. You were
definitely. You
were a witness to history. Now, 28 years after, how do you remember the events of June 12, 1993 and the events thereafter? The struggle for the actualization of June 12, of course, preceded by the annulment and all of that.
You see, the annulment of that election and the idea that Emperor Abiola will not become president of Nigeria brought the issue of democracy front and center to Nigeria. It became a burning issue where everybody now started yearning for democracy to return to Nigeria. And it brought about a principle that has bided with us since that time, since we actually went back to the democratic system of government. June 12 has stood for me, and most likely for generally for Nigerians, to mean detribalization of the country, ethnic irrelevance in terms of politics, religious irrelevance in terms of politics. The issue of religion did not really come into the fore when MK Abiola was really running. The issue of ethnic bias did not really come into the fore. And since then, it has not really come into the fore when we talk about June 12. So if we stand on the principle of June 12, we are going to have a detribalized and a nationalist approach to the governance of Nigeria, to the issue of who is at the position of leadership, the executive leadership of Nigeria, the legislative leadership of Nigeria, and of course the judiciary leadership of Nigeria. It is of no consequence and it is irrelevant where the person of the presidency comes from in Nigeria, because he is the president of all of Nigeria, and he is tasked and takes the oath to Nigeria as a whole and not to his ethnic group. June 12 has put in the roots and brought up the stock, and now it has brought up the actual tree of democracy that has strengthened that democratic principle of nationalistic approach to Nigeria and made us more of a one country and not of a sectional country.
Now, all three of you panelists seem to agree, Dr. Asukwo, that June 12 symbolized a unity of purpose in Nigeria. Now, 28 years after, many seem to argue that Nigeria is more divided today than it was 28 years ago, than it was in 1993, when almost every Nigerian from every persuasion, from every ethnic background, from every religious background, from all manner of backgrounds, had one purpose, and that was electing a president, electing a government that was democratic. And even after the annulment, all of them seem to have put all their efforts together to ensure the realization of that. What do you think has happened or happened between 1993 and now to cause the kind of divisions that we now have across Nigeria?
Well, let me put it this way. In 1993, we did not have the mode of communication that we do have today. In 1993, we had fewer TV stations, we had fewer radio stations, we had fewer newspaper organizations that would reflect and report on the aspirations of Nigeria. Now, compare that to 2021. We have more TV stations, more radio stations, and more newspaper organizations. And now add to the mix that every Nigerian is a potential broadcaster and a publisher. We have access to social media, we have access to blogging, we have access to post opinion on even comment sections of newspapers and comment sections of TV and radio stations. So you are going to have a more diverse set of voices speaking out in Nigeria and talking about their own different aspirations more than before, simply because people will now have the ability to broadcast and to speak their minds and aspirations, which might be different from a lot of other Nigerians. But that does not necessarily mean that we are more divided than before. It simply means there are more voices that are getting through to the generality of Nigerians. But the most important thing to note here is that Nigeria is still one. A majority of Nigerians still want to be together. Yes, there are grievances from different sections or different states and different ethnic groups, but those grievances will only be resolved by talk at the table. No matter what happens, we will still have to talk. Just before the dawn typically comes the darkest part of the night. This might seem to be the darkest part of the night, but I believe we will overcome and get the glorious dawn of a beautiful and fantastic First Nation Nigeria.
All right, Dr. Julo, let's take off from that point. This might be the darkest night of Nigeria, but after the darkness comes the dawn. Now let's try and relate the fundamentals which Dr. Tuku talked about of June 12 to present day Nigeria. Where did we get it wrong? And if we had actualized June 12, would Nigeria be in a better place today? Probabilities.
Yes, when we talked about fundamentals of June 12, the essence of it itself is the expression of popular will, popular aspiration, that has been expressed by voting Abiola, but saying that irrespective of all those centrifugas, all those sentiments should be set aside, let us face the whole thing. Now, apart from the expression, the next that should have been is the actualization of that popular will, which was a bit, we can say, was stopped without allowing that to be actualized. And I think that is where we have this problem today. Though the democracy we are enjoying today, we need not lie about that. It is an offshoot of June 12. But we can do something I can only call a quasi-actualization of June 12, in the sense that immediately after maybe Abiola has been declared the winner, he has been sworn in, we will start on that premises, on that foundation to rule, and the governance will continue. But with that, the nightmare, I can call it, the Abacha time is nightmare. That my nightmare of about 5 to 6 years has already diffused and disrupts a lot of things before we can now say we are now having the democracy, the governance we are having. I think that is where the problem is. I think that with that zeal, it's like a haircut taking off. You can see the force, and maybe after getting to the hair, then we stabilize, then after some time it will go in. I think that with that force of that June 12, the way people express their aspiration without thinking of all those selfish hand, things will have been as good as it is. But because of that nightmare, because of that, should I call it interregnum or whatever, I don't really know what I can call it, it has already caused a lot of problem, and till today, that's where we are still having problem. But let me take a clue from what Dr. Soko said, that maybe when after the darkness there will be brightness. I think that we have, as long as we continue to move, and that's why I'm not surprised with all the issues, counter story, counter issue coming up from different hand. You know, at the end of the day, the main thing, it's like iron going to the furnace. There are many issues, many things will come, but at the end of the day, if people are steadfast, if people still stay the course, of course we'll get to the promised land. And I think that is the beginning, that is where we're working towards.
That's if we stay the course.
If we stay the course.
All right, Dr. Tuku. Now, Dr. Ajulo seemed to suggest that, well, maybe the momentum of the June 12 elections and the struggle that followed was interrupted by the return of the military, or the continuation of military rule until 1999, when we eventually returned to democratic rule. Of course, some people still suggest that what we have is not exactly a democratic rule, it's simply a civilian rule, and that a lot of people are still exhibiting a lot of military attitude in their governance systems and all of that. Now, flowing from that, do you think that it was possible, or it is possible, that we could have trodden a different path from the path that we are working on today?
It will have been possible, but let me recapitulate a little back to our history and see what division is and how it was gradually creeping in the politics. Now, the process of nation building, at least in Africa, was a forceful amalgamation of various different groups and interests that were put into nations as countries with various names from various interests of different colonial powers and so on and so forth. And that Nigeria was not an exception. And arising from this fact, arrived from colonial era to the era of agitation for independence, struggle for independence, we have this division. Division based on ethnicity, division based on ideology, based on direction. These were the different situation that we have leading to the independence. At independence, the party politics was also along that line. And we continue until we had a civil war, which is a very low ebb in our history. To have a civil war in which you lose more than 300 3 million people, and then you start to rebuild at that time. That division will continue. And as a result of that, the accumulation of frustration and the need to have a clear direction, and with the personality of Chief N.K. Abiola, that was what led to a redefinition of politics and direction on it, and that was actualized. But immediately after June 12, the primordial tendencies, the variant division arise. Not 6 months after June 12, we have people moving from one part of the country. So the ideal created, which precipitated June 12, nearly died 6 months after. And then the crisis that ensued led and consolidated the division, which the military, of course, were entrusted, because to consolidate power, all through during the military is to create division. Divide and rule was a principle also of colonialism, which the military also, to consolidate power, needed that. Once you have a consolidated power with a division in a country like Nigeria, will continue to rule. But of course, in 1999, when power went to the civilian, or democracy came into being, what we expected is that there was a constitution in place which outlined the various aspects of our relation, with institutions, with government, and then the representativeness of election and leadership. We expected the political parties as organization to build on those principles, which of course promote national development, national interest, and then that could have recall the essence of June 12 and rebuild on it. But unfortunately, that is not. Not only that, if you look at the vision of our politician, it's at par with the vision of the country. And that is why you see there is no cohesion in terms of direction, in terms of vision, between those who are governed and those who govern. And that division also continue to create misunderstanding between personality in government, personality in politics, and those who are governed. So we do not have a clear direction where we go. Even though we have institutions that have mandate, you have policies, you have assignments, which we cannot achieve because of those divisions in terms of aspiration, in terms of focus, in terms of priorities. So these issues have to be resolved. And how do you resolve them? Take, for instance, the debate going on as to whether there should be a national conference, or whether there should be cessation, or whether there are problems that ought to be resolved. And look behind us and see how many national conferences have we held, how many national development planning have we sat to design, and how many institutions were created, right, even from 1999 to date, more than 30, to resolve our problem. And we still feel there are fundamental problems that are yet addressed, to be addressed. So these are the issues. And then there are also contradictions within the various approach that we have from different parts of the country and different political aspirations. These compound to create complex problems for the development process of Nigeria. And in this regard, we need a refocus. And that is why some people are agitating one form of system or another, one form of reform or the other. So unless we address these issues, there are specific issues that are anchored on those issues, but unless we address them, we may not resolve. Take, for instance, the issue of state police. The federal constitution, of course, gives the powers of the security of the state to the federal government. At the same time, it gives the governor of the state the power to be the chief security officer of the state, to give direction to what all aspects of security in the state. Not only does he not have the resources, not only does he not control the apparatus of the security, not only does he have the power to give instruction which comes from the center, then that also is a contradiction in respect of the direction in which a state should ensure the stability of a component and then the whole stability of the entire issue. When you take other aspects, take for instance citizenship. Citizenship in Nigeria starts from a family to a locality to a local government and then a state and then the nation. Now in that respect, everyone has to belong to a particular community and look at a competition between the federation in terms of allocation of resources, in terms of allocation of values, and that competition creates a problem too, because if you are coming from Anambra State, someone is coming from Imo State, someone is coming from Kano State, all of them are competing for values, position, role in the society. And then if you can tell that on the based on proportional representation, probably in terms of population, there must be agitation. And then there are others who have already taken advantage, either because of the knowledge they have, or because of the experience they acquire, or because of the advantage they acquire in terms of economic power and others. Then there are also agitation for those who may be the majority or the minority to also compete and ask for rights and so on and so forth. Unless you have a situation where you create harmony, integration through other processes of development, then you continue to have those divisions, and sometimes they may intensify depending on the direction of politics and issues at stake in the political sphere.
All right. Well, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll be talking about a national vision and how critical that national vision is to national development. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's cross over now to you again and join Dr. Asukwo. Dr. Achibonga Asukwo, the whole issue of a national vision has always been on the table. It's one subject matter that so many people have varying answers to. Now, do we, in your consideration, do we as a country have a common vision? And if we do, how have we been able to push that vision to realizing our national objectives, to achieving national development?
You see, any Nigerian you ask on the street about the national vision will tell you that they want a prosperous Nigeria. They want to be wealthy, to be rich, and be comfortable in Nigeria. They want a working infrastructure such as power, such as constant flow of water, such as transportation. But most significantly, the national vision now is just a matter of having a safe and secure Nigeria, and to move Nigeria to the very top and become a first world nation. That would be what the common Nigerian would tell you. Maybe it might be different with a few persons here and there. That's the yearning and what Nigerians strain to achieve. When it comes to the political vision of Nigeria, it is a one indivisible country, whereby we must have some form of negotiation, some form of conversation, some level of talk. Even in the United States, we have several amendments to the Constitution, which has actually served the country very, very well. We will have several amendments to our Nigerian Constitution as we continue to grow and to develop, simply because there are varying interests, and those interests will speak up. But the national vision to every Nigerian is simply a more prosperous and a more stable Nigerian. If you ask the children that have the parents of the children that have been kidnapped, their vision would be, hey, I want to save and secure Nigeria and the return of my children. If you ask the daily laborer on the street, he will tell you that his vision is one whereby he's able to meet his financial obligations to his family at home, his wife and children. Now you ask the student in the university, in the secondary school, in the primary school, they'll tell you, I want to be able to go to school in peace and to graduate on time and to get a job when I finish from school. So the national vision is going to be different for every person, but at the executive level, at the presidential level, the national vision should be one, the economic growth of the country, the infrastructural growth of the country, the security of the secure Nigeria. And we elect a set of politicians into office. That will be the vision at the presidential executive, legislative, and the judicial arm of government.
All right, Dr. Julod, national vision, does it equal a national developmental agenda, or are there differences?
Certainly. I think when there's vision, that's when we can say we want to move forward. Without really getting your vision right, or without a set goal, I think it's like you are building without foundation. And when we talk of national vision, it is well escapulated in our constitution. Nigeria is supposed to be a country built on, like what was being heard some minutes ago, on equity, justice. But unfortunately, the question we should be asking is, then again, rule of law. The question is that are we following this line? And I'm sure I can easily guess anybody answer to that. I think it is when we get there, because when it comes to development, it is like you have a company, you are talking of good governance. There are set rules, set standards, set practice that must be followed to achieve and to attain that good governance. Irrespective of whatever it is, there are some companies that may be turning up millions of profits, but if the good governance, the way it should be, is not, then the members of the company, both the shareholders and those that work there, will have issues. The same thing when we are talking of governance, particularly we are talking of a country that we believe the corporate existence should continue and to bring to the development. The question here is where is the vision? Where is our vision? Are we really attaining that? Are we be able to really achieve that? Like I was discussing with someone this morning, he was telling me some issues. I said, well, first thing here is this, the issue of rule of law. Have we been able to really ensure that we always normally follow rule of law? Is it what the president wants or what the law says? And we should understand this very well. And that's why some of us, we always canvass this fact that if to create the office of the president, it is the law that creates the office of the president. It is the law that talked about the procedure, how the president is attained for us to elect the president. And even if there's any issue, it is the court created by the written rule of law, by law, that makes it possible. So the essence, whosoever that governs us has a prescribed ways and manner it should be. And I believe the same way should be the way Nigerians should be governed. But in a situation when there's any deviation from that, that's where we always have the problem. And I bet you, it has been proven, not today, not in this country, all over the world, that in a situation where you follow that prescribed form, it's like a procedure. Once you follow it, you get it right. It is so certain that development will come. But in a situation where the country believes in equity and we cannot attain that equity, so it is being believed that some can lord over the others, then you believe that first there will be this issue that nobody will have the faith in that country that this is my country. And that's why this issue of secession, some people are peddling up and down. I never believe in it, and I've been saying that because I believe there are many ways to settle our problem without going. And where are we going to? That is one of the questions. Nigeria is so interwoven to the point. I'm not saying that, but in the situation where some people are pushed to a point, they will believe that, oh, let's commit suicide. And committing suicide may even be in the form of, oh, let us go our separate way by agitating secession. And these are the things our leader needs to understand, that if we have a country, we have a law, our constitution is so clear how this country should be. But unfortunately, because of the whims and caprices of some people, they believe thing will change. And again, I must say this, when we talk of rule of law, the law is so clear. But in a situation where some people seem to bring some funny laws which never in existence, that even if it's so absolute that it is maybe 30 or 40 years ago, to now want to use that to cause confusion. That is why we continue to have this issue of whether Nigeria is developing. It is so clear for Nigeria to develop.
Is the problem the constitution, the 1999 constitution, which of course is a byproduct of the June 12 struggle, or is the problem the operators of that document?
It's two ways. Let us be sincere. I'm here to see any constitution that is so perfect. Even United States Constitution is not perfect. That's why you've been hearing about amendment today's Second Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, because, and that one is affirmation that the Constitution is not perfect. That is why each time there is always amendment. And what other country constitution can we talk about that we can use as a flagship of all the constitution? That's United States. That one shows that there's no way a document, provided that it is human being that prepare it, there must be some issues, and that's why the cause for amendment always coming. But apart from that, the little one, whether it is even it's imperfect, how have they been able to implement it? And that won't come to but those that oppress our constitution. They've been doing it in the wrong way. In a situation, let me give you an example. In a situation where we have Land Use Act, which has been adapted by the constitution to be used, and today you'll be hearing that there is one law somewhere which, as a lawyer today, I'm even here to phantom where that law comes from. Even if there is such law is a regional law, more like a state law, to be used to control the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You see, that's one that's where we have some other issue. Like I said, constitution can never be perfect. We will continue to strive toward that perfection. That's why the issue of amendment. And I need to address this if I'm given some chance, that even if actually to change the constitution today, it is allowed. So far that we have the amendment clause. All that needed to be done is to even amend the amended clause to and whatsoever that we believe. Once it is the aspiration of the generality of Nigeria, it is possible. If today Nigeria can come together to say this constitution need to be set aside, and they can compel their assembly members, all of them from the state, local, and the federal level, to do that, they can do that. All that is needed is just to face the amendment clause, to change that to what we enable them to change the constitution entirely. But like I said, this one requires following the rule of law. Once that one is followed, I don't think there will be no problem. It has been tested all over the world, and it is possible. Once we have a country whose vision is to follow the law, not taking about not following the whims and caprices of the elite or the leaders, so-called, or the kings, or whatever you call it, and to know that this country belongs to everybody. There is equity, there is equities, there is justice. It shall be well with Nigeria.
Dr. Tuku, we have over time tried to blame our national woes on one section or the other, one individual or the other. Most times we seem to hold our leaders responsible for all the challenges and the problems of the country. And the question that has been asked over and over again, and which one has not been able to find the very adequate answers to, is the leadership. Is it the responsibility of the leadership alone? What should be the role of the followers, of the citizens themselves, in bringing about a better country, a more prosperous country? June 12, 1993 promised a lot of things. Everyone looked to hope. That was the slogan of the Abiola campaign.
Hope 93.
Fulfillment, restoration, prosperity, upliftment of each and everyone and the general society. But of course that did not happen, possibly because of the annulment of June 12. But 28 years after, how well have the people and the leadership fared? What roles have they played in all that we find ourselves?
For every country, the leadership is not enough to ensure a success of a society in terms of development. It is a process that involves every citizen, every sector of the economy, every aspect of human endeavor. And this is encapsulated in what is called a vision. And that vision is contained in our Constitution. When we look at Chapter 2 of Directive Principle of State Policy, clearly it is stated what Nigerian government and people have resolved to pursue in all aspects of our human endeavor. Is it education? Is it human right? Is it provision of social service? Is it security, and so on and so forth? Now, when you do not have consensus in terms of approach to achieving this, then you have problem. And this, we have institution, we have organization that have long been set up even before June 12. And many others have also been set up after June 12. And we have sat on so many fora and decided that this is the direction of a country in terms of economic policy, in terms of water resources, in terms of our health, and so on and so forth. These are the basics things that give direction to a country. And it is the duty of the leaders to look at those directions and lead people to those ones. It is the duty of the people to cooperate with leadership and pursue those. How do you cooperate with the government? In terms, let me take an example, in terms of maintaining security and order. If you decide, for instance, as it is always the case in Nigeria, when there is a hold-up that requires 20, 30 minutes to ease for all of us to move, all Nigerians will have a shortcut. And all of us will block the road, and that it will require just 30 minutes. We'll spend 2 hours. Instead of being patient for 30 minutes, we'll be patient for 2 hours. And at the end of the day, we'll resolve the problem frustrated. This example I'm giving is almost what happened in all our sectors of development. Nobody is interested in pursuing development through the right process. Everyone look as a leader to have failed, and therefore does not look at himself to have contributed to the failure of a leader. And that has been the case right from our independence. And today it has become part and parcel of our culture. To have shortcut, to have a short process, and to believe what can be done in 3 years can be done in 2 hours. It will not take us anywhere. Unless we are ready to support and to cooperate, do our little in all aspects of our human endeavor, in the educational sector, in the health sector. All people that have been mandated, either official or who have as stakeholders, who belong to those communities in those sectors, also contribute in the vision of the Constitution and the mandate of institution and organization. We may continue to blame leaders, and leaders may continue to blame the followers, and at the end of the day, the progress will be as slow as a chameleon movement. This is the situation we are in.
Dr. Sukwa, let's have your take on this. I mean, consensus building. That's what the guests here in the studio are talking about. It appears that as a people we have failed to build consensus on almost every issue, and as a result we do not have a national direction. How do we go about building consensus moving forward?
Well, first of all, to build a consensus, we have to put aside our differences and focus on our strength as a nation, as a group of people, both ethnic-wise and religion-wise, in every way. That in and itself will help us to build a consensus. We must also be good leaders, and we must also be good followers. To be able to build a consensus, we have to go ahead and also perform our civic duties, which that civic duty being to vote when it is time for us to vote. You have to imagine that. I mean, how many Nigerians actually do vote? They've lost the confidence that their vote will be counted, or just believe that the level of violence will be too high, so they don't want to go out and vote, and also discourage their children and friends and brothers and sisters from going out to vote, because they associate the voting process, the voting period, as a time of great violence and fraud. Now, we must move away from that, because we've seen a reduction in terms of violence in the country after each election cycle. We are improving, we are growing. So we must exercise our civic duty, and that entails voting. But most significantly, we cannot put up some level of apathy when it comes to politics. If you are not involved in politics, you must be involved in the governance. You must be interested in the governance of the country, and you must be involved in the governance of the country. Being involved in the governance and being interested in governance means that you must hold those in position of power to the law, to the standard, to their promises, and ensure that they deliver what they have promised us. Now, we cannot also leave the issue of leadership to other people. We must engage in political in the political process in terms of actually running for an office. If all the good people believe they are too decent, too polite, too educated, too elitist, too advanced to go into politics and run for an office, who do we believe will actually get into this politics and run for an office? Those that we do not want to see in office will be the ones that will run and govern us and be our leaders. So you cannot, as a Nigerian, say, well, I'm going to build consensus by staying away from politics and becoming disinterested in the governance of our country. And most significantly, I'm not interested in running for an office because I don't have money. I don't want to be insulted. The group of people that are running for office are less than sterling in terms of their quality. No, if we do that, we will not have decent individuals to build a consensus on. And that consensus will be, it ties into what we have discussed earlier in terms of a national vision for Nigeria. Where you have discordant voices and discordant ideas and discordant visions, you cannot have a national vision. We have a difference, a stark difference amongst the people who lead the country. You're not going to have a quality deliverance of governance and the dividends of democracy to the citizens of Nigeria.
Okay.
So we have to start off first. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. We must go now. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you. Dr. Achibong Asukwo is a lawyer and a politician. He joined us from Uyodi, Akwa Ibom State Capital. Thank you for your time. And of course, here in the studio, we're joined by Dr. Hussein Tukru. Dr. Tukru is an associate professor in the Faculty of Administration at the Nasarawa State University in Kefi. Thank you so much, Dr. Tukru, for finding time to join us. And Dr. Kayode Ajulo is a lawyer. Of course, he joined us from here in the nation's capital, Abuja. Was a politician. I don't know if he still is. Was once in the Labour Party. There goes. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, and for you, our viewers back home, we want to thank you immensely for investing your time with us on this Monday. It's a public holiday in Nigeria to mark the Nigeria Democracy Day, June 12, which was on Saturday. But today, of course, is the public holiday to mark that day. Wish you the very best in the days, weeks, and months ahead. Bye for now.